Hey, what's up? Just doing my Sunday live while I do my finishing work here at the shop. So I don't think anybody's in here yet, but that's what I'll be doing. Got some steaks to cord wrap. I got a bone knife to cord wrap. I've got a bunch of Yawara I need to cord up, and I'm gonna be doing a pair of Raphael Sai and possibly the Electra Sai here in a little bit. I kind of wonder how many people are probably on YouTube at 7:30 in the morning. Probably not a lot. Well, 7:40, but but even if no one's in here, I feel like I'm at least doing something other than just sitting here in silence, quarter wrapping steaks. These are oak vampire steaks that I sell in my shop. I'm just doing a handle cord wrap on these. I got 4 of them to cord up real quick, and then I've got a bone knife I'm gonna cord wrap the handle of here in a minute, and I've got some Yawara that I'm going to cord up. Hey everybody, welcome. This probably isn't the most exciting live stream you've ever seen. I work in a wood and prop shop, and on Sundays I do finishing work on everything that I've made over the weekend. One of the things I made this week are these oak vampire steaks, and doing a cord wrap on the handles on these. And I got this bone knife here that I'm going to be cord wrapping this handle as well. And I've got these Yawara here I'm going to cord up. And I've got these prop Sai for a Raphael Ninja Turtle cosplayer that I'm going to be wrapping those up with some special wrap that I use on those. And later, possibly after that, I have a pair of Electra Sai that I need to finish doing the handle on. Mostly these are mostly used by cosplayers. Someone asked what these are for. They're, if you're doing a vampire hunter costume for Halloween, or people who are just really into vampire stuff. I sell a lot of steaks, honestly. I have a lot of different kinds in my shop, and seems like one of my bigger sellers, especially around like some September to the end of October. I sell a lot of these. So throughout the year, I try to make as many as I can, because when spooky season gets here, I usually end up selling almost all of the steaks I have in my inventory. So I spend the rest of the year getting my shop beefed up for spooky season, because I still sell steaks. That's hard to say. I still sell them, outside of spooky season. But sorry, I know I'm not supposed to use my teeth, but I kind of have to. God did not give me 3 hands. So during spooky season, I sell a lot of them, though. But I spend most of the year beefing up my inventory for spooky season, for Halloween, because that's like my shop's Christmas. But right now, we are on the cusp of convention season. Green Acres, Florida. I'm actually in Inglewood, Florida. Yes, wood. But yeah, I'm in Inglewood, Florida, with the Warrior Wood and Prop Shop here in Inglewood. And I can get this thing tightened down a little better. There we go. There we are. All right. And now you've got a nice little vampire steak there. Just 3 more of these to go. I had somebody on the last stream ask how I do these cord wraps. To be honest, I am so lazy with cord wrapping. I'm not lazy necessarily, but like I try to keep it simple. So you take the string, you put it down so you have enough to tie it off when you're done, and you just basically wrap around the handle as tight as possible, and you're basically tucking that string underneath. And then when you get to the end, you cut it off and you tie both ends together with a square knot, and it holds it in place. It's a very simple way to do a cord wrap. It's also a very hand cramping way to do a cord wrap, but it works. And I don't use adhesive, by the way, on these steaks when it comes to the cord wrap, because if someone gets the steak and they want to change the handle or replace the cord wrap, I don't want them to have to deal with a bunch of sticky adhesive or something they're going to have to worry about cutting off or sanding off. So, but this is just green jute cord, super cheap stuff. You can go buy it at any, I would say you could go buy it at Joann's Fabrics, but Joann's Fabrics is no longer with us. Rest in peace, Joanne. Yeah, you can get them at any hardware store or craft shop. But it gives kind of a rough look to the handle on these steaks. That's why I use it on them. I use it on my bone knives too. After this one, I'll do the bone knife, so you guys don't have to sit here watching me do nothing but cord wrap steaks for the next 20 minutes or so. If you got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Help me help my life be less boring while I do this. That's why I go live during this, because this is the most monotonous part of what I do at this shop. I just kind of sit here in silence and cord wrap everything and do all the finishing work on all the projects that I worked on Saturday. Saturdays I come in. I would live stream on Saturdays, but I'm working. My shop is very loud on Saturdays because I have to run air scrubbers and belt sanders and shop vac and dust collection system. So I don't know that going live, I think it would just be annoying to hear that much noise. You listen to music a lot at work? Yeah, I used to do that. I'm a big fan of Brothers of Metal. Uh, I usually listen to Brothers of Metal, but music can only do so much to break the silence. And during my day job, I listen to music a lot. This is my third job actually. My day job, I'm a marketing copywriter for a tech and cybersecurity company. And then in the evenings, for the most part, I write books for Penguin Random House on mythology. Right now, I just finished a book on legendary heroes for DK Publishing, which is owned by Penguin Random House. And I think that comes out in July. And last year I did Supernatural Creatures for DK Publishing, and that one's out now. And I think later this year I'm supposed to start another one with them. I think this one's about the unexplained. It's like a spooky book for book fairs, which I love because they're kind of like the books for the weird kid at book fairs, which I used to be the weird kid at book fairs. So makes me happy to know that in my adult life I'm writing books for that kid. I'm just gonna cut that off. There we go. And mess up these ends a little bit so that they are frayed and look rough. There we go. Second steak is down. All right. Oh, by the way, if you buy one of my steaks, please don't steak anyone. All right, for any reason. These are for entertainment purposes only. Please keep in mind that while steaks do kill vampires, they also kill people. So please don't steak anybody. All right, so this is a bone knife. I make atame daggers and stuff like that out of deer leg bones. I got a guy that he owns a large property with like a hiking trail on it, and as he's hiking, he finds bones here and there, and he picks them up. So no animals are killed for these. Like I don't buy from hunters or anything like that. I just buy naturally harvested bones that are from animals that just died in nature. Not that we're hunted for sport or anything like that. Which I don't think there's anything wrong with hunting. It's just I don't want to be making bone knives or buying my bones from somebody who maybe like is killing deer so they can sell stuff, from the deer. I don't know. That seems a little unethical to me. Oh yeah. One of my military buddies, one of my Marine Corps buddies, he's a roughneck. He works on oil rigs out in the Gulf. It's funny, we got out of the Marine Corps. We both had the GI Bill, and he didn't use his, and I used mine. I got a master's degree with mine, and in mythology, which by the way is the worst financial decision I probably ever made. But I have a master's degree in English with a focus in mythology, and he didn't go to college at all, and went to work on oil rigs instead. He now makes about twice the amount of money a year that I make. So I feel like I may be better educated, but he definitely made better financial decisions when it comes to what he chose to do for a living. Because despite what you may think, writers, we're not rich people. Writers, especially those who do it for a living, like I make enough to live fairly okay, but I am not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. But I love doing it. That's basically, when I got out of the military, I told myself whatever I was going to do for a living, I just didn't want to hate it, I've got a sibling that absolutely can't stand his job, and I don't know, I just hate the idea of waking up every morning dreading going to work. I didn't want to live that way, so I love writing though. Writing, even marketing copywriting. You know, it's a little boring from time to time, but for the most part, I really enjoy it. And you know, I like the fact that I don't wake up every morning going, "Oh my god, I hate my job." But yeah, he does the same. He'll be out on the rig for a couple months, and then he'll be back for a month. All right, a little tighter. There we go. All right. Let me again cut the ends off here. Yeah, same. You know, like he's got kids, and you know, I think you know he definitely shows something that allows him to make sure you know his kids are taken care of and all that stuff. Plus, that dude has like all the toys known to man. Like he's got like a motorcycle, four wheelers, boats, all that stuff. He's got a nice house, all that jazz, because of what he does. But there's your bone knife. Got the handle on there. All right, I guess I'm going back to the steaks for a little bit. Done with this black jute cord. And I'm going back to the green. But yeah, I think you know working a rig is definitely a lucrative job. Except I will say, like, except when the oil prices tank, because I know he had a period there um, where he didn't have a lot of work because the oil prices had gotten so low that the company reduced their output, and he had a rough year that year. I want to say that was right around the pandemic period. He had a little bit of a rough time, but he made it through, like all of us. That pandemic was a doozy, huh? Oh, I know he's working. He's definitely working for it. Like that's one thing, and that's why I kind of one of the reasons I opened this shop is you know it's one of the things I don't like as I get older about being a writer for a living is I spend so much time just sitting at a desk in front of a computer and typing, and it's just you know it definitely that sedentary lifestyle will kill you. Wait, she's mad at you because you're going to Disneyland? I don't understand. Why is she mad about Disneyland? That sounds like a fun time. Almost done with these steaks. Just got one more after this, and then we're moving on to the Yawara, which for those of you who don't know what a Yawara is, I will give a quick explanation of that when I move on to those. They're pretty fun. They're used mostly by people who do karate and kobudo, or sometimes people that do kopojitsu, but I don't think there are a lot of people that still do kopojitsu, except in Japan. Kopojitsu is like it's a bone breaking martial arts. That's the whole gist of it. Is that you learn to strike and move in ways that cause your opponent's bones to break. either through a very, very powerful punch or kick, or by grabbing them and twisting in a way that causes fractures. Kind of like Aikido, but a little more brutal, a lot more functional. Nothing against Aikido practitioners, but it's not always the most functional martial art. Oh, I see what you say. Yeah, I get that. You know, I have two kids that I live in Florida. My kids live in Texas, and you know that's always rough. You know, you're not there in the day to day. You know, matter of fact, in June, June 21st, I'm going to Texas. Every summer, I go to Texas and spend a month with my kids during their summer break. Well, these days, mostly with my son. He's 12, about to turn 13, and he still thinks I'm cool enough to hang out with. My daughter, on the other hand, is in her 20s now, and early 20s. She's in college, and she really has very little interest in hanging out with dad these days. You know, she's got her own stuff going on, which I get. I don't think I wanted to hang out with my parents very much when I was 21 either. But yeah, I do the same thing with my son, and used to with my daughter when I would go to Texas in the summers. You know, I'll take him for a week, and we go do all the fun stuff. You know, go karts, video games, uh, go camping. You know, but yeah, it's hard because you know I know that it seems like you get to be the fun parent. You know, but at the same time, it's rough because you know because you only get to see them. You know, for limited periods of time, you always kind of want to do special stuff with them so that it's a good memory for them. But yeah, I imagine for moms, uh, it's probably a little rough. Your boys are 6. Oh man, woo! I remember when my son was 6. Boy, he was all over it. Did they use you as a Did they use you as a jungle gym like my son did? That kid used to climb all over me. I jump. I don't know how I managed to get out of his like toddler to or preteen years without like broken bones because that kid would jump on me all the time out of nowhere. It was like having a little WWE wrestler in the house when I would visit because he would just like from the top rope off the top of the freaking couch onto me all the time. Thank God he cut that out, man, because he's getting big fast. And let's cut that off. Um, I think if he did it to me these days, he'd probably crack every rib I had. Like, I don't know. I definitely don't need that. I got enough old injuries. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's tough as dad when you're missing that stuff. You know, because I get it. I get how she feels. You know, I can understand that. But at the same time, you know, like for me, it's a little rougher because you know his mom and I aren't a couple, uh, and my daughter's mom and I aren't a couple. But you know, you just kind of do it. I think this is the big thing with parenting. You just kind of got to do it the best you can. We're all gonna screw it up. like I haven't been a perfect father by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, I do my best. That's really all you can do. Just accept the fact that you're gonna fuck it up. You know, definitely will eventually mess it up in one way or another. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. Anybody who tells you otherwise is lying or probably trying to sell you something. But I try to spend as much time, especially with my kid, my youngest, as I can, because I learned a very valuable lesson with my oldest, my daughter, It was a really quick transition between like when she was about 14 and 17 of her loving hanging out with me to just not really interested in hanging out with me, which I get, you know. But the hard part for me was that like the pandemic hit when she was 15 and I wasn't able to really see her for like a year. And so by the next, like she was almost 16 when the pandemic hit, or she had just turned 16 possibly, but it was like a year that I wasn't able to see her because, you know, we couldn't really travel during the pandemic. And so by the time I got to see her, she was full fledged like teenager in high school, and spending the day with dad was not something she was into. Uh, and that always, you know, always sucks. At the same time, you know, you're happy that the kids are learning to be more independent, but you know, still kind of sad when they don't want to hang out with you anymore. And my son assures me that that will never happen. That he will always want to hang out with me. I always tell him, I hope that's true, buddy. But you know, I'm fully prepared for when that day comes. I've only, like I said, he turns 13 this summer, and I've only got, you know, I've got maybe a few more years tops before, you know, he's got, you know, parties and girlfriends and teen drama and all that stuff that takes precedent over dad. And I get that. Like I said, when I was a teenager, I don't remember hanging out with my parents a whole lot either. So, but you just, like I said, you do the best you can. That's all you can do as a parent. As long as you're doing the best you can, try not to feel too guilty, because you're definitely going to F it up. Oh, hockey. Yeah, I know. That's, you know, you do what you can to provide for your kids. Yeah, I got lucky and landed in Wichita Falls, Texas after the Marine Corps. There was a university there, and I was able to go to college and do all that stuff. But yeah, if you know, if you got a high school education and a can-do attitude, or hell, a GED and a can-do attitude, you can make money on an oil rig. So yeah, I mean, I get it. You do what you gotta do. Oh, sorry, I tried really hard not to use my teeth. But like I said, the All Father did not give me 3 arms for some reason. Cut those off. There we go. Oh, that's my guys in the other shop. I don't regret not joining the service. It's not all that. I think people over uh almost feel like people kind of deify soldiers these days, or people in the military in general. Marines aren't really, we don't call ourselves soldiers, but you know, I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps, and I can't say I'm super proud of anything I did while I was in. I was anti-tank assault and demolition infantry, and I'm so old my MOS doesn't even exist anymore. They don't use assault infantry anymore because everybody gets rocket launchers now. You know, uh, my service was not anything to be proud of, I promise. All right, so next we're gonna cord up these Yawara. So Yawara, oh, I gotta burn off these ends here. I actually did a live of some stuff. I was talking about Yawara on my last stream, but I didn't have any that I was working on. Somebody had asked what that is, so you're gonna get a little history lesson here. So in Okinawa, which is the birthplace of karate, oh shit, that was not what I meant to do. Uh, there was a period where a group called the Shurite, who were the bodyguards of the Okinawan royal family and pretty much the founders of karate, they were not allowed to carry weapons. However, that's a really difficult thing to have happen to you when your job is to protect someone in a world where everyone's carrying swords. So, the Shurite bodyguards started figuring out how to turn everyday items into weaponry. And one of the things they came up with was the Kopo Yawara or Yawara. I think in English, most people call them a palm stick. Uh, Basically, from what I understand, there's a great book called Shotokan's Secret. It's a really good book. I can't remember the author's name, but I think you can find it on Amazon. It's called Shotokan's Secret. And the Kopo or Yawara, or Kopo Yawara, was originally like a backing to a little pillow that women would carry because when they sit on their knees, you know, the Japanese style of seiza, they would put the pillow like between their heels and their rear. And this was like the backing to the pillow, and it had this little like handle that you could put your fingers in. Well, the Shurite figured out that they took the pillow off and put their fingers in. They had a nice little weapon. They you know, if you're doing a like a hammer strike or hammer fist or, you know, inside strike, this gave you something that you could smack somebody in the face with. If you ever heard of a Kubotan keychain that Tak Kubota created, the Tak Kubota's Kubotan was based on the concept of a Yawara. He modified it so it worked as a keychain. But this one's made of Ipe wood, which is extremely strong. I sell these in the shop. And these here are Okome. These are smaller ones. I use these. I sell these. Are called pocket Yawara because you can just keep them in your pocket and still gives just enough where the tip is out on your wrist without it being super long. And you can do some van damage, which pretty much shows how old I am because I don't think anybody says van damage anymore. Kids for back in the day when Jean-Claude Van Damme was like one of the top action stars in the world, in the trailers for his movies, they'd be like, "It's time to do some van damage. Get ready for van damage." Because his name was Van Damme. I'm not sure if I need to explain that. What the hell does he do in the Air Force? I don't know. I don't know a lot about the Air Force, to be honest with you. Marine Corps and Air Force don't really, like, so we don't spend a lot of time together. I think the only time I ever really spent much time with the Air Force and the Marines was when I was in Japan, because we had to go over to Kadena Air Force Base to take the bus when we were trying to go out in town. And there's this one. I know you guys notice these are pretty long. The reason I leave them long is I don't know what other people's hands are like. So when they get them, they can untie these knots, adjust it to their hand, and then cut these off and burn them so that they have it fitting correctly. So that's an Okome one. And this is another Okome. Okome is a light wood, very light wood, but it's also pretty strong. Once it's been sanded and given a tung oil treatment anyway. When before that, not the super strongest of woods. It's soft, but once you sand it up really well and put some tung oil on it, you have a very light and strong pocket Yawara. I don't know that I would make anything super long out of it, but a short stick like palm stick like this works really well. And I burn off the ends of the 550 cord just because it helps make it look nicer. There we go. And now that one's done. It's the worst Bruce Lee impression ever. Now these are a little bigger. These are 7-inch. These are oak. For these, I use a thicker rope. I think it's this. Nah, this is the one. This one, unfortunately, I slipped. I had a little mishap with the drill, so one of the holes is way unsymmetrical. So this one's probably going to get auctioned off on eBay for like a penny. You'll just have to pay for the shipping because I don't like to sell stuff that's not perfect. If it's not perfect, a lot of times I just put it up for auction on the eBay store because I do not like it when people get stuff. If I do not want people getting stuff from my shop that they're not happy with. So I quality check everything, and if it doesn't pass muster, usually it goes up on the eBay store on auction for like a penny with no reserve price. I just, I don't want it to sit and do, and collect dust, but at the same time, might as well make sure it gets out so somebody who can use it. Why these are not, I measure these out. I put a 12-inch cord in each Yawara. There we go. So these oak ones get a slightly thicker cord. It's a cotton rope. Cotton is a little better for stuff like this as far as these bigger ones and the oak ones because it's less likely to cause chafing or rope burn. And this one actually came out okay, so I'm gonna wrap this one up. Yeah, it's funny, a lot of the weapons that people consider like ninja weapons here in the US aren't actually ninja weapons at all. They're karate weapons. A lot of the coolest weapons, honestly, in martial arts, I feel like were created for karate and kobudo from that period of time when the shurite couldn't carry weapons. Like if you look at like the kama, for example, the kama wasn't really a weapon at all. It was a farm implement that farmers used to harvest rice. And however, it was a stick with a blade at the end, but it technically wasn't a weapon, so it wasn't illegal for the shurite to carry it. So they made do with it as a weapon. And the sai are kind of a similar story. The sai weren't necessarily a karate weapon either. The sai and the jite, which were both kind of sword defense style weapons, most of those type of weapons were created by what you would guess consider their police force back then. And unfortunately, killing a samurai, not exactly allowed, even if you were a police officer. So the problem is, you get a drunk samurai, he's coming at you with a sword. You got to defend yourself in a way that you can neutralize him as a threat, but at the same time not get yourself killed. So they came up with sai and jite, which were, the jite is like a sai, it's slightly shorter. It's a metal bar with one prong on one side, so you could catch the sword. You could block and catch the sword using the prong and hopefully disarm the samurai before he could murder you. The sai was a slightly more lethal version of that because the sai was longer, it was heavier, it had two prongs, and the other thing you could do with a sai that you couldn't do with a jite was throw it. And yeah, a thrown sai can do a lot of damage. These are, by the way, these are rubber. These are prop sai. These are my convention safe sai that I make for mostly Raphael and Elektra cosplayers. This is going to get wrapped up in the style of the 1991 Ninja Turtles movie for a guy that does, he has a really cool cosplay that he does of Raphael. Hey, how's it going, Merlin? Or Martin? Martin, not Merlin. That makes a lot more sense. Martin makes a lot more sense as a name than Merlin. That's where my brain went. But anyway, I'm going to wrap these in the style of the 1991 Ninja Turtle movie because that's the cosplay that he does. So this is my last Uwara that I have to cord up. And I'm going to take a little break, just a really little short break. And I'm going to, but I'll leave the live up. And then I will get started on the Sai. I just got to go put all this stuff away because I need some room to work. I already have way too much stuff on this table, as you can tell. Yeah, Merlin, it would be a good name to have. Too bad I'm done. It's too bad I'm done having kids, right? I would love to have a kid named Merlin. That would be cool. And this is a longer oak Uwara. This one I think is a 10-inch Uwara. These longer ones, the reason, like I have some other ones that are like these where I put the cord down here. These you can use because they're longer. You can trap wrists. Like if somebody were to grab you here, you can use this to trap their wrist and perform a wrist lock. Yeah, you too, Mike. Take it easy. Thanks for hanging out with me. And good luck at Disneyland with those boys. All right, so that's it. I got this the bone knife is corded up. I got these vampire steaks all handle corded wrapped, and I've got all these nifty Uwara corded up. I got to go put this stuff in the inventory room. Let's see, which one's the one that's messed up? It's hard to tell. Is that the one? That's the one. That one's going with me back to put on the shop later. This one probably is too. And these bone knife. All right, hang tight, everybody. I'll be right back. All right, 1 second. Be right back. I gotta put these somewhere too. And all glory on his way to Ukraine. What? Ah, cool beans. Be right back. All right. Now it's just time. Where are my scissors? Up there, they are. Oh my God, I gotta clean this table off. Hey, it's gotten a little messy from all my finishing work. Sometimes I forget to clean up after myself. All right. Well, welcome everybody from Bulgaria and Ukraine. All right. So next, we're going to do some Raphael Sai. Now these are props, not real Sai. They are what I call con safe. And I'm gonna need a little super glue for this. Oh, don't want that. Why is this sticking to itself? All right, there we go. Oh, and I'm also gonna need my heat gun, so let me go grab that real quick. All right, and that. Yeah, I never thought I would get to a point in my life where I had to take my glasses off to see better. Aging is a bitch. All right. There we go. All right, be right back. I gotta go grab my heat gun. You're from Bulgaria and English? Oh, England. Gotcha. I actually worked with a guy from Bulgaria when I was in the Marine Corps for a little bit. Yeah, he's a good dude. Crazy as a loon, but man, was he reliable. All right, I got my heat gun and a plug. Because this wrap is kind of a mix of like a cloth and a plastic. And so I age it and distress it and also kind of help it get back into place with a heat gun once I get it wrapped. Stick that under there. All right. Mr. Fix-It. Yeah, not necessarily. Honestly, I'm not a very handy guy at all. I just have ADHD and a little too much free time. Actually, I don't have free time these days. So one of the things, this is going to be these are replica Sai for the 1991 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action movie. This is for a cosplayer who does that. In that movie, the prongs and the handle are wrapped. So I have to wrap each prong first. Then I go over that with the handle wrap from the bottom. But man, it is not easy. There we go. The prongs are the hardest part because I got to stretch it as I move because they curve. Wrapping anything that curves is a pain in the butt. I do not know that you have a cat and that it's very cute, but I'm sure it is. I have a cat too. Actually, I have two cats. We have a lot of animals in our house. We have a Persian cat named Lily, or Lilith is her full name, but we call her Lily. We have a Hemingway polydactyl tabby cat. She has extra toes on her little paw beans. Her name is Freya, after the goddess in Norse mythology. Technically, her name is Freya Rey. Rey from Star Wars and Freya from mythology. Then we have our Chihuahua Pippa. She's a bundle of energy all the time. But she's getting a little old these days. And we have two ferrets. Alexander and Nibbles. All right. Now comes the hard part. Oh yeah, and we also have a squirrel named Ian. We rescued her after Hurricane Ian. So she's we were honestly trying to rehab her to reintroduce her into the wild, and we had some issues with socializing her with other squirrels. Didn't quite work out, so she could not return to the wild. So she's now a permanent resident of the house. So that's just a little bit of CA adhesive just to keep it in place while I do this. For those, CA is cyanoacrylate, which is really just a fancy way of saying super glue. So that's gonna stand there. And then got to do the other prong. Luckily, the second part here has a little adhesive part on it. So sometimes that works out. We'll see. Now we got to wrap this. So anyway, yeah, the hard part with con stuff is, these days they're very strict about weapons for the most part. And so, walking into a convention with actual psi, usually that's a no-go. So trying to make something that looks like a psi, looks as real as possible, but is okay to carry around in costume without looking like you bought a cheap toy. Because I've seen a lot of cosplayers that have had to do that, where, they're walking around the convention with a flimsy toy, and that's never fun. These, once I'm done with them, they look fairly real. There we go. Wrap around here. There we go. Well, I cut this. And a little more adhesive. And the adhesive, like I said, it's just a little dab of it to hold it in place. I do not know that you're sick. Martin, I don't know if you're aware, man, but I am not psychic. So, yeah, no, most of the things about you I probably don't know. All right. That is now in place. And let's see. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be long enough to do the handle, so we're going to move to another piece here. Now, one thing, when you're wrapping handles, especially when you're using a handle tape, this was something I learned the hard way. You always want to start from the bottom of the handle up. You wrap starting at the bottom and work your way to the top, because otherwise the overlap gets pushed on when you are holding it, and it's problematic. All right. There we go. Now, start here at the bottom. If we can get around this stupid little, that stupid little red thing always causes me issues. There we go. Oh, I see. No worries. All right, here we go. Come on, work with me. There we go. All right. Get around here. Oh, need to go around one more time. There we go. All right. Now, one last little dab of adhesive, and then I'll take the heat gun to it. Ah, crap. Always sucks when you get this stuff on your fingers. All right. I can get it to hold in place. There we go. I hate when I get super glue on my fingers. It's worse though. I tried wearing gloves, and it's worse if it happens when you're wearing gloves, because suddenly your glove fingers are stuck together, and that's the problem. All right, now it's time for me to take the heat gun to it and age it up a little bit. Yeah, you can. Type hello in Bulgarian. All right, this is the hard part, because I have to get it just enough to slightly melt it, but not enough to cause it to completely melt. I'm gonna let this heat up for a sec. Oh, whoops. Hang on. I forgot to put the cap back on this. We don't want that to dry out. That's my super glue here. Make sure that's good to go. All right, here we go. There we go. That's softened up. There we are. All right, let me. And there we go. Squeeze this stuff down a little bit while it's still soft. And there you go. We got Consafe Raphael Sai. All rubber. Now these are Sai, not a sword. These are for fighting somebody with a sword. But that's my Raphael Sai. So anyway, I've got a few things I've got to do around the shop, and I don't really feel like carrying the phone around. So I'm going to go ahead and call it good. But thanks everybody for hanging out with me, and I hope you all take care. Thanks again.